Welcome to the Global Gaming Business Podcast, the industry's first and longest running podcast, now in our 16th year. I'm Roger Gross, the publisher of GGB, and this week we sit down with Cindy Hovey and Roger Pettersson, who are involved in project management and marketing at IGT, to talk about the Peak family of cabinets and how they enhance the games developed by IGT game designers. The GGB Podcast is brought to you by IGT's Peak family of cabinets, performance-driven and player-tested across the board. Find out why operators bank on the power of the Peak at IGT.com/peak. Welcome to the Global Gaming Business Podcast. My guest this week is Cindy Hovey and Roger Pettersson. Guys, thanks for joining us. We're going to talk about the Peak cabinets and some of the other things that are going on at IGT. I appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, thank you very much, Roger. Excited to be here.
Great.
Good.
Why don't we start off and give us some of your background in IGT and your background in the industry to begin with, and what you do and what your duties are at IGT. Why don't you start with you, Cindy?
Sure. I've been in the gaming industry for about 20 years. I first started with a company called Spilo and then went through on the G-Tech side, and then obviously came to IGT through the merger. During that time, I've been a product manager mainly in hardware, platform management, as well as VLT, among other things. And yeah, so I've been really in the hardware side for most of my career.
Okay, great. And Roger?
Yeah, I've been in the industry for about 25 years now. Started on the operator side and spent some time with MGM Resorts and then with Seisha Casinos, and then joined IGT about a year ago now. So excited to be on the vendor side.
Great. Okay, so we've seen the Peak cabinets really get a lot of attention. Certainly at G2E last month, they were the center of attention for sure. So why don't we go back and Cindy, give us a brief overview of the Peak cabinets and how they came to be and what role they play in the product at IGT there. Sure.
I mean, the Peak family hardware now includes quite a few cabinets. It includes the bar top, the Peak Slant 49 and 32, and a Peak terminal. And the latest that was launched at G2E is the Peak 65-inch, which was launched in the premium area at G2E. And as you can see, the Peak family there's a large variety of products. So you ranges from premium to Wheel of Fortune to Core Video, and even ETG. They're all designed with the same attention around player feedback and focus on delivering our games as the hero of the cabinet. Basically, it's all about, positioning the game.
Sure. Okay, great. So Roger, I go way back to when there was one slot cabinet for everybody. It was one company that would sell slot cabinets to everybody, and that's a long time ago. But I know you do a lot of research. What kind of research went into developing the Peak cabinets?
Yeah, thank you, Roger. We really start with the industry trends, to understand the current marketplace in order to build a foundation for the next generation of hardware. Next, we have concepts, that get developed, and we go through the internal focus group to vet them out before we go into the prototyping process. Once we have a prototype developed, we start our player focus groups and internal focus group process to get feedback on, really the aesthetics of the cabinet, the screen size, the angle of the screen, the player button panels, lighting, serviceability of the cabinet from a technical perspective, and really just the overall comfort and playability of the hardware at the end of the day from a player perspective. And then the final step, through our research process is really to get the customer in front of the cabinet and give us feedback to make sure that next generation of hardware, right, meets their need for their casino floors.
Sure.
And, as a former customer of IGT, I've played a large part of this process in the past, through my background, and I can speak firsthand. And it's a super effective feedback loop, and it's resulted in the Peak family of cabinets really becoming some of the best hardware in the industry.
Sure, no question. So this has continued to evolve, though, Cindy. What kind of modifications have you seen over the past couple of years?
All the cabinets go through extensive research, like Roger just said, and we have made changes, much to my engineering team's chagrin. For example, the bar top, which even Roger, as a customer, was part of that major transformation, as how that first started with a prototype and then it ended in the most successful bar top that we're seeing today, with a really innovative look of bringing that curved screen to market. Player comfort, a lot of times through this process, we're adjusting the screens to ensure that player comfort, making sure that there's no significant glare, and then as well as the digital player panel. So where the player's interacting is really ensuring that it's comfortable, that they everything on that player panel has a purpose, and there's enough space to put all their personal items as well, is really something that we spend a lot of time with the players on.
Sure. Oh, it must be hard to kind of design a cabinet for everyone. I mean, I've seen little 4'9" ladies sitting next to 6'4" cowboys. So how do you adjust for that?
It's tough. I mean, we try and develop global cabinets. So again, even those changes globally are tough. So what we really try to focus on from an ergonomic standpoint is take a little bit, we design for obviously the average, but we really ensure that no matter what, that the player can, if they need to touch that main screen to enter a bonus, they are able to do that, that they're comfortable, that nothing overwhelms them. But we also have to make sure that everybody can see every part of the cabinet and every piece of the cabinet. So it's something that our engineering team has worked for years on. This is not new to them to make sure, but a lot of focus is on ergonomics, a lot of time sitting in front of the machine, a lot of time just analyzing through 3D rendering and 3D modeling, that type of thing. Okay.
And how about the new cashless system? I know IGT's got a great cashless system. How is that incorporated into the cabinet?
That's incorporated through the player tracking. So it doesn't matter what IGT cabinet that you have. It's all developed through the player tracking and leveraged through that.
Okay. There's also a charger for your cell phone?
Yeah. So the later peak cabinets all have an inductive charger. And back to the research, that was a funny story because when we originally started researching and adding the inductive charger to this new generation of peak cabinets, we had a symbol, which we thought was the international symbol for chargers. And we put it on and we went to player testing and no one understood what that symbol was. No one got it. No one knew anything about it. So again, we started testing years ago. Now inductive charge is a little bit more. We did know that we probably pulled the wrong symbol. We updated the symbol and we now know that our players are using it and they definitely know what that little charger symbol on the left side of the cabinet is. Okay.
So Roger, obviously you can have the best cabinet in the world, but if you don't have the content that supports it, it's not going to succeed. How do you decide what content goes onto the peak cabinets?
Yeah, it really is. It's definitely a process, and at the end of the day, it's about pairing the right canvas. In this case, really the LCD screen, right, with the right game mechanic. And some games are just better on the portrait screen, while other games, are just better on the dual screen. And we also developed some games that can go on either cabinet, and to have flexibility for the operator and for the player. And, clearly games with expanding reels and a lot of interaction between the reels and the upper part of the game naturally calls for a portrait screen. You really just create a better visual experience, right? And an example of those, one of our latest game called Samurai 888, which we just released, it's on a portrait screen. And it's really a nice interaction between the base game and the persistent pots in that game where there's coins flying up and really interacting with the top screen. And then there's an expanding reel feature in one of those bonuses as well that is really not effective to execute necessarily on a dual screen cabinet. So that's where really the portrait cabinets really kind of shine, and they use that expanded canvas to be able to incorporate some of those more modern features. And and other games, like one of our top games this year in Regal Riches actually happens to be available on both cabinets, but it actually performs better on the Peak Slant 32 at the moment. So it's just again, giving the player the options and giving the operators the option to play some of these games on either one has been a strength of ours. But again, some of the games are specific; they just require that portrait style cabinet to execute the play mechanics effectively.
Sure. Okay. Great. So I've been in a couple of casinos in the past week or so. I went to Resorts World in Las Vegas for the first time. And of course, there's all the new games there. And just yesterday, I was in Pechanga Casino in California, and I saw a bunch of new games there, IGT games as well. So is there a lot of demand for these cabinets now? Are they really starting to catch on?
Yeah, they really are. We've had a good run of the Peak Slant 32, through the year. It's been the #1 cabinet in the marketplace from a slant top perspective. And we just launched the Peak 49, early summer this year, and it's really starting to gain some traction. We starting to get the cabinets out there in late Q2 and Q3. So there's definitely demand as properties are opening back up, and players, are playing the newer cabinets. It's always players always look for the newer hardware and the newer games, and we're definitely seeing the Peak family really starting to gain a lot of traction in the marketplace. And the Peak 49 is the latest and greatest, obviously, that just got released this summer. So
sure. Cindy, have you gotten feedback from players how they enjoy the new cabinets?
Yeah, obviously, COVID wise, we were doing a lot of development in, through video and stuff like that. So it was hard, even where I'm in Canada, even to get to play the prototypes before they actually went out. So we were really excited actually to go to G2E, and it was really exciting for me to see people actually playing some of these cabinets that we've launched during, the COVID times. And we've had some feedback, great feedback, really enjoy it, whether or not it's the triple 32 on the Peak Slant 32 or the nice 49-inch curve, progressive curve on the Peak Slant 49. Everybody's really excited about them. They definitely like them. They're looking for them in the casino. And again, it all helps with the great games that the game team's putting together too. So I think there's good things yet to come.
Sure. So you've got the Peak Slant 32 and 49. How do you decide which games go on which cabinet? Roger, is there a secret there?
Yeah, it really comes down to really, looking at the game and the play mechanic of that game and what that game is all about, and then really matching it up with the best form factor, right? Does the game have expanded reels? Does it have an interaction between the top screen that we really want to amplify, and those kind of things, right? And so really comes down to really just what's the play mechanic, and at the end of the day, what cabinet is going to create the best experience for the player for this specific game that the studio is developing, right? And then we kind of go from there. So
okay, great. So I'm an avid reader of the Eiler Krychek performance report, and it seems like your cabinets are always right at the top every month, especially the 32. So what's driving that success? Is it the content, or is it the actual hardware itself?
I would say it's the hardware, but I don't think it's just the hardware. I think it's a combination of both player tested cabinet design as well as a lot of game research. And Roger can talk a little bit about that in the testing.
Okay.
Like Cindy said, it's really a combination of both. I mean, Cindy alluded earlier that, the Peak family of cabinets, they really allow the game to be the star and the hero of the experience with the player. And it really comes down to, that as a foundation. And then, but it's all about content at the end of the day, right? We all know that. And so the content so far on the Peak 32 has been really solid since we launched that about a year ago, and which is why it continues to be, on top of those Eilers report as you referred to. And then the Peak Slant 49, we've had a great run on that since we launched it. We have 3 games in the top 25 on the Peak 49 right now, with Stinkin' Rich, Skunks Gone Wild, bringing back an old favorite, if you will. And that game is off to a rocking start, and one of the top games at the moment in North America. So, and then we got plenty of other content to come. Samurai 888 is one of those. And then Wolfrun Eclipse, which we showed at the show, we have super high hopes for, another great legacy title of IGT that we think is going to have really high appeal in the North American market. So,
okay, sure. So, as your name suggests, IGT is international in scope. Are these cabinets really being successful in all markets, or is it just North America right now?
They have had some success globally. I mean, a lot of it is just as they roll out, there's a timing involved. So we have definitely launched some of them in global markets. Some of them are still to come in global markets, so they're not all the way out there. So we have seen definitely some success on the slants, definitely in Europe, where they were launched earlier this year. So we're having great success there. Latin America is still opening up from COVID, so we haven't got a lot of yet information. It's a slow reopening plan there, as you know. And the slants in general aren't as overly popular in Australia yet. So they haven't really been launched there. So where they're launched, we've had great success. And like I said, we're working with the market to bring them forward. And obviously there's more to the family than just the slants and the bar top and the new ETG terminal. And there's going to be more to come.
Sure. So, Roger, I know content internationally varies from market to market. How do you decide, what games to put into these cabinets, especially when you're that market sensitive?
Yeah, no, definitely. We're definitely a global company, and we do balance our portfolio out very, very carefully to make sure we have content that's going to be successful in all these various markets. And a good portion of our portfolio really appeals to most markets throughout the world, and so we make a lot of games that kind of really fit the mold for most markets. But there's also some specific games that get developed for a specific market need, like European market sometimes is a little bit different, especially the Eastern European markets. We have a specific pipeline of games that kind of get developed to fit that market need, and then the Australian market and so forth. So the good thing about being a global company, we can have all these streams of content go into specific markets. And then if we have a hit in another market, we can easily take those games and kind of port them over and move them to different markets as we see fit. So it's definitely a big advantage of being a big global company.
Sure. So being in Nevada, I get to see a lot of the bar top machines, and you seem to be making a big move with the Peak bar top machine. How is that performing in Nevada, and then is that going to go into the other distributed gaming markets as well?
Well, the performance on the Peak bar top has been nothing short of amazing, right? It's the best, hands down, without question, the best bar top cabinet ever made. Mm-hmm. And it just really elevates that player experience with that curved screen and a larger screen, and it really takes the older, poker content or video content or Keno content to the next level.
Right.
And wherever we put this cabinet in, it's been outperforming the legacy, cabinets by pretty significant margins. We're really excited about the performance we're seeing out of the Peak bar top, and we've also leveraged that cabinet into the ETG space, right? Because we saw the strength of that cabinet, and
sure,
that it could be a good fit on the electronic table game side as well, and it's getting that out there with good success as well. So it's been a really great form factor for us now in two different segments, which is great.
Sure, and I guess you can probably use some of the great video poker games that IGT has that are very attractive to the bar top customer.
For sure, and especially the single hand games play great, but really with that larger screen and that curved screen, we get into the multi hand poker games. That they are absolutely amazing to play on the bar top, and so really seeing some significant improvement in performance on those action titles out there in the market with that new cabinet. So
absolutely, they have some great titles coming up, I understand, as well.
They do.
So, another rumor I've been hearing is you've got a Peak 65 about ready to come out. Explain what that is, and I'm assuming it's a 65-inch screen which is going to, what is that, 5 feet tall?
It's very tall. We debuted it at G2E, and just a few weeks ago or a month ago now. And time flies, but so the Peak 65, it's a larger screen cabinet, 65-inch portrait screen, and really just building upon our success with the Mega Tower cabinet, which is on the stepper side. We've had a lot of success with the large format Mega Tower for quite some time, and it's just a natural fit to evolve that into a large format portrait video cabinet. And so we're excited about the Peak 65. We're leveraging, some of our best licensed content that we have with Wheel of Fortune, High Roller, and Price is Right, Come On Down. And then we got a couple of internal brands too, one called Megabucks that few people probably know about, and Gong Chi Fa Chai. So that's going to be available on the Peak 65 here very, very shortly in the premium space. So good feedback on the cabinet to show it. It's a large format, but not overly large, if you will, because it still gives the operators good flexibility on where to place this game and on their casino floors. And we're looking forward to getting on the floor soon. So,
Cindy, what's the challenge of building a large screen like that?
Shipping and manufacturing. So that's probably without a doubt, and getting all the parts to the venue and getting it all set up there, because obviously a 65-inch screen doesn't really fit in the average truck or container. Right. So again, yeah, it comes in a couple parts, and putting it together easily on site. And definitely hope that there's no breakage along the way. So it's packed up really nice and tight.
And to build that, I guess you must be having a little supply chain issues as everybody else is these days.
Yeah, I mean, supply chain definitely has gone on, as the pandemic has sort of, people are getting back out. Supply chain definitely has not rebounded as fast as we hoped with the markets. Some parts definitely were having long lead times. We're hoping that it would basically probably about the mid 2022, we hope to see that things will get back on track. And that's what we're hoping for as we have new cabinets in the works. And we're hoping to develop a regular cadence of new products out in the market for our customers and players, obviously. And we need the supply chain stuff to get over with and get everything back on track in order to do that.
Well, these cabinets have been a real eye opener for me. I mean, a lot of success coming through here, and I'm excited to hear that you've got a lot of other things in the pipeline. So, really, thanks for joining us. We appreciate you taking the time, and we'll stay in touch because we want to hear about all the new things that IGT is coming out with over the next year or so. Hope you enjoyed this week's GGB podcast, brought to you by IGT's Peak family of cabinets, performance-driven and player-tested across the board. For more information, visit IGT.com/peak. To learn more about IGT cabinets and games, visit GGBmagazine.com. For all the news of the gaming industry delivered to your desktop every Monday morning, sign up for free at GGBnews.com by using the code GGB180. Don't miss any edition of the podcast. Subscribe on iTunes or Spotify today. So we'll see you next time on the GGB Podcast.